Obviously. We are kind of on time and perfectly on time for our next speech. So I would like to introduce you guys to Patrick Lehmann and Florian Ivan that are with us for ready to speak about what is the real meaning of sustainability in project management. So that's enough for me. Again, as I told you to the others, guys, the stage is yours. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, thank you, Virginia. Also from our side, happy to be here also to talk about embracing sustainability. My name is Patrick Lehmann. I'm director of STS, the project management training company. And we are glad to be really dedicated to project management, do it as a training. And besides the big four certifications, we also added green project management recently, which we think is going to be more important as well. And I do have the pleasure also to have Florian Ivan with me. Florian, if I can quickly give you the floor as well.
Thank you, Patrick. Just really quickly, my name is Florian. I work as a consultant, trainer in project management with a really special focus on green project management. And I do have a bit later after Patrick, where I'm going to share with you some of the tools and the practices within green project management.
Great, thank you. I would like to start here with just one number, which is, or one graphic here, showing already how important our impact as humanity on this planet is. If you look at the increase of population on this Earth, then you see there is an increase, which is important, and also using all the resources that we have on Earth might be more and more a challenge. Now, before really going on to project management and sustainability, I would really talk a little bit about sustainability here. When talking about sustainability, a lot probably see all these different pictures here. It's about the climate that is changing. It's about drought, flooding. It's also a lot about waste probably that you see. But I think we do have to talk about sustainability in a larger field, let's say, than right now. Sustainability is primarily also defined by the Sustainable Development Goals that the UN has issued about 10 years ago in 2015. So they have defined 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and they even have split it up into about 169 specific targets. So it's really a broad approach. And if we look at those images, climate change or climate action, it's number 13. It's on there as well. Life in water and life on land. Might be also looking at exactly what we have been looking before, different kinds of climate. But there is more, and also it's about no poverty. It is about having good education. It is about gender equality. So sustainability really takes much more aspects into account. And if you look also in the middle road here, it is also about the economy. It is also taking into consideration the human interaction and especially also the exchange that the humans need to do in terms of living on this planet. Taking these aspects, the 17 goals here into 3 brackets, I would say, then we can divide them up into the environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and economic sustainability. And I think it's important to really keep the 3 angles here in consideration as well. So environment, probably it's that what we talk a lot right now, also with all the different floodings that we have seen this year. But it's also more, it's about pollution in preventing pollution. It is about the energy, using it efficiently, and also to conserve biodiversity. On the other hand, and that's also important, sustainability is also defined by social aspects, particularly here equity and justice, well-being, the labor rights, as well as cultural preservation and stakeholder engagement. And last but not least, also we have to make sure that the economy is still an aspect that is important in sustainability. It is about financial sustainability, but also about innovation, technology, and to make sure that the corporates they take the responsibility not only for their own products or shareholders, but also for a longer term. And when you take that together, it can also be taken together with ESG, environmental, social, and governance. This probably comes more out from, let's say, financial aspects, where they started to look at it a little bit broader and not only on shareholder. Now, what does sustainability bring to a company? This is probably a question that a lot ask themselves as well. And sometimes the first thing that comes into mind is about it's an obligation. There are new standards, there are reporting the reportings that have been issued. I have just mentioned here a couple of them. And nowadays, companies look at it also that they have to adjust those new regulations. Just one of that, or actually mentioning two, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which comes from the European Union, that has been put into place beginning of this year, but now it's a test run this year, and it will be mandatory as of next year. And it really wants the big companies to report on different issues, on government, social, environment, but also on cross-cutting issues in this regard. And they really want to push their big companies also to develop more a sustainability policy and do some changes in terms of the strategic impact that they have. A similar one is also about sustainability in Switzerland. A new also regulation that had been put into force beginning of this year. It's already also aligned to the different aspects, also with aligned to the CSRD of the European Union. And not to forget also that companies that are present in the US, the European Union, they need also to adhere to this framework there. Besides reporting and regulation, I think also business sustainability leads to new business opportunity. And I've been looking into a couple of reports from McKinsey, Harvard, IMD, and so on about sustainability, and all also say that there might be more opportunities and not only reporting issues. So there are new opportunities for business as well, in which they have to find their own way. So looking at that, I have three here. One is really a business that is aligned with sustainability, may also increase the value that they provide to customers. There is an advantage if they take it really as a good solution there, if they don't just accept that there is sustainability, but as long as sustainability drives their strategy, they might really become more competitive against the others or within the market. And sustainability has also increased a new market for sustainable goods, for other aspects of working together. Sustainability also might be linked and is linked to risk management and cost reduction. If you mitigate the risk correctly, if you take them into consideration and you consider your own risk that you pose as a company towards the external or the external risk that you have to absorb, then if you do that correctly, you do have also an advantage. And there is also another aspect which becomes more and more important. Young workforce, they also look at sustainable aspects. They want to have a well-balanced work environment in which they're respected, and which is not only focusing on work, but also on a good life-work balance as well. And I have mentioned it with ESG. This has come from the financial investment part, and what they started to do is also looking more than only on shareholder values. They're part of non-financial factors, success factors in a company become more and more important to get financial resources. So taking this all together, we do have two tendencies. First of all, there is more and more reinforcement on non-financial reportings, and this has been also stressed in the very beginning. So it's about gender quota, it's about transparency, due diligence, and so on, which become more and more important, and which also states are reinforcing more and more. And the second one is about the circular economy. Making sure that the resources that you use within the company, that or within your company, that these are reused, that they are more designed towards longevity and durability as well. So this second approach is really giving it back to the economic cycle is going to be important. And these are the consequences then afterwards really for companies. So really make sure that they align all the different activities to the non-financial reporting, that they assure a risk management, which is taking into consideration this sustainability aspects as well. But then they also start to differentiate themselves in terms of innovation and also new products that they can bring to the market. And the last one I mentioned as well, also to have access to capital and staff that are high skilled and qualified might be strategic important in the future. Now, looking from a project management perspective to it might be a little bit more complicated, and I leave it then afterwards up to Florian to talk more about concrete aspects. First of all, I think project management or project is in opposition to sustainability by definition. A project is unique, limited in time, whereas sustainability looks at a holistic, circular approach. Nevertheless, and we have seen it before already, project management plays an important role also in driving any aspects of business. It is important also to lead the people behind that and make sure that a company endeavor is really aligned to the next generation and to the let's say the consideration they have to take into and into the future. I would say this is done. Yeah. So adopting sustainability frameworks, I think, becomes more and more important for project management as well. Looking at that at the very beginning and include that also more like a stakeholder analysis in a general, and make sure that these aspects are covered, not only for the project, but also for putting it back into the company afterwards, once the results of a project have been transferred back to routine work. And how this is done, I'm happy to share right now and ask Florian to go further on this.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. If I can take over, I think you have to stop sharing so I can share.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, you just end up clicking next for me for the next 20 minutes.
Okay, good.
All right, it should come up right now. Hope you can see the slides.
Yes.
That's probably the most asked question in the world. Can you see my slides? So as you said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the specifics of green project management. In other words, how can we integrate sustainable practices into project management? Now, Patrick said something interesting before. He said project management and change. It is through project management we normally introduce change in organizations. Well, if it's not project management, what is then? It's operations, which basically means you don't change it. But if you want to change it, you have to do projects. Before going to the specifics of these, maybe just to share with you a bit how I got started into this topic. It was a couple of years ago, and it was again Patrick who kind of pushed me outside of my comfort zone. He said, "You should take a look at this." My attitude until then was, I understand sustainability. I think I do understand sustainability, but it's pretty vague for me as a problem. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do about that. I am worried, obviously, about the topic, but what am I supposed to do? So once I got a bit more involved with green project management, with some of the tools I'm going to be sharing with you in the next couple of minutes, I became more aware that, yeah, there is something we can do in a very pragmatical and tangible way. So what I discovered here is that there is one way to frame the problem in a way that you can make it addressable. Because otherwise, if we just complain about nature, about ecosystem, about environment and sustainability, we're just complaining. But this is defining the problem. But the other one is a framework, and that's the word, the framework and the methodology to actually do something about that. Now, it doesn't really mean changing the world, but it just means doing your own bit in terms of supporting the environment a bit more. Not just the environment, but again, sustainability in general. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you some of these frameworks and methodologies and tools we have available. Also going to send you some links afterwards, maybe through the chat window here, some further materials you can download and read more. Most of them are for free, which is actually one of the benefits of doing this. So you can have a look on your own and then see how that can be applied to your projects. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. I think we have some minutes at the end for asking questions. I'm not sure how many of those will be, but please ask your questions while we do this. I think I already saw some question in the Q&A window. All right, so why green project management? I think the imperative is clear for everybody. It is now. You probably know this quote: the best moment to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best moment is now. So the moment is now. Now, who's playing here? Now, Patrick already mentioned a few of these players. United Nations is by far the biggest, and obviously the most impactful. So there are these SDGs. I'm going to touch a bit on that, how our approach in project management kind of fits and maps on these SDGs from United Nations. But that's a bit more general. Lots of things, but these are applicable everywhere. In terms of project management, we basically have all the big names. I was mentioning green project management as GPM. I'm not sure how familiar you are with this institution. Basically, what they do is in the name. They promote green practices, sustainability in project management. And they started a few years ago. You see here, it says 15 years. There's a lot of work they put into this, and all the merit goes to them. But the last 2 or 3 years, I think they've been a bit more vocal, or maybe we became more aware. We listened to them. What they do is they come up with some frameworks, with some methodologies, with some tools, assessments to help us integrate more sustainable practice to project management. The practices I'm going to be sharing with you later are those from GPM. Now, again, it's dedicated to green project management, but also on top of that, you have the usual suspects, if I may call them so, PMI. So PMI is integrating more and more green project management practices into their frameworks. I'm hearing rumors, I'm not supposed to say it out loud, that they may actually ask questions about green project management in the PMP exam, which is going to be a good thing, but we'll see what's going to happen. So we do see more and more of these practices as part of PMI. IPMA, on the other side, also is doing a lot of things. They're about to publish a book. I hope they haven't published that yet. I'm saying something stupid here. They plan to do it in the near future. IPMA, they're really good about competence baselines. So they plan to do something about sustainability. So they're going to give you the IPMA baseline for sustainability practices. Is going to be published in the near future. This is to say that it's an important thing, what's happening these days. And all these major players are actually on board with these practices. Now, I was mentioning that green project management, and by the way, the website is greenprojectmanagement.org, where you can find more information. These are some interesting resources available to better understand project management and sustainability. Now, I was saying earlier that what I like about this is that it gives you tools, it gives you references, it gives you methodologies. And for somebody like me, that's very useful. I think for most project managers, we need to have a framework to do a proper job. So you have here the one to the left, Sustainable Project Management, the reference guide. It explains a methodology that I'm going to be highlighting a bit later. In the middle, you have the P5 standard for sustainability and project management. The P5, I'm going to do a short presentation of that a bit later. It's an analysis we can perform to better understand the impact of our projects on sustainability. We ask some questions, we give some scores, we have a final score, then we can decide what we should be doing to improve that. So the one you see in the middle, that says P5, that's specific to project management. But the one you see on the right, it says business practice. So as you can imagine, obviously the topic goes a bit outside of just project management. It's universal, it's everywhere. It's not just project management in a sustainable way, but it's business in general. This is fairly new. You see here version 1. It says it's pretty new. They just launched that recently. So I do encourage you to have a look at that and read a bit more because I'm pretty sure you'll find some interesting elements there. And back to Patrick's point, you don't have to be regulated to do it. It's not because you have to do it, because otherwise you're going to pay a fine if you don't do it. I think this is the common good. I mean, again, making the world a better place. I'm gonna close this this presentation with one slide about what are the main reasons why people look at sustainability, and you will see that it might start with governance and regulation compliance, but it's much more than just that. So let's look at this methodology. It's called PRISM, full name, I guess. It stands for Projects Integrated Sustainable Methods. So as I said, it's a methodology, which is a good thing, because otherwise, for somebody like me, and I'm guessing for most people out there, if you just say sustainability, it's going to be pretty vague. You might not even know where to start this. So when you say it's a methodology, you understand that it's a methodology that has, as you'll see a bit further later, it has processes, it has documents, it has templates, it has roles. So it's a full methodology. Yeah, even a few more meetings that you can add to your current methodology. Maybe just a quick note before I go into the details of this. It is fully aligned to PMI. It is fully aligned to IPMA. So if right now you are doing project management according to one of these institutions like PMI, even Prince2 or IPMA, this is totally aligned to that. It doesn't mean you're going to have to change radically the way you do project management. You just integrate some of these methods into your existing practice. So I would say on the bright side, it doesn't require a big revolution in the way you do project management, right? It's going to be just small things to adapt to that. One of the most important concepts is this cradle-to-cradle concept. I mean, we know in project management what happens at the end of the project, right? And if you've been a project manager, you know that towards the end, you kind of stop caring that much about a product, just throw it over the wall to the next people who are going to maintain and operate it, but you're done. So this idea of finality and end in projects kind of makes us think it's finite. I'm going to do my job and then I'm done here, but we're not done. So if you look at this, it's basically end to end. Yes, we do start with an investment into the project. That's the cost element of the project. We put money into the project, and hopefully at some point, we're going to get some benefits. And you see here traditional benefits, and then you see here at the top sustainability benefits. Now, if I were to look at traditional benefits, I mean, most projects today, when we say traditional benefits, we actually mean what? Well, if it's business to business, it's money. That's how we keep score in business. It's some financial indicators. We do projects because we want to make more money, because we want to save money, increase profitability, cost reduction, and so on. These are typical benefits. It might be saving time, faster, to the market. It might be improving the satisfaction of your employees or customers. So these are what we call traditional benefits. But now we have more and more of these sustainability benefits. So basically means having an impact on the environment, not just in the sense ecology or the nature, but also having an impact on the environment, also in terms of social equality, equal pay, and so on. So it's not just I'm delivering the project to deliver the result. I'm doing it in a nice and sustainable way. So as we'll see a bit later, it's not about efficiency and effectiveness. It's also about how you do it. Maybe just to pick on this, because I just read this, the first version of the sustainability guide I was mentioning earlier. It made me think a lot of the introduction, because in the introduction, it's a bit of short history of business and economy. And it starts with about 100 years ago with Taylor and Taylorism, who invented management. So basically, Taylor was about let's make people more efficient, more productive. So you're actually counting the duration of a task, making it faster. Also, he wanted people to be paid fairly. A big fan of Taylor was Henry Ford. You probably know more about Ford. People were paid enough money to buy a car. But then something happened. The 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, something happened. We kind of shifted dramatically towards profits, or the way we say it, value for shareholders. So if the only metric that really matters is increasing the profitability, deliver more value to your shareholders, those who own the company, it can only lead to one thing, right? Charge more so you can sell for more money and reduce the cost. How do you reduce the cost? We know it, right? So far, until recently, even today, I'm guessing, the paradigm has been, if you want to deliver a cheap product and you want it to be cheap in terms of cost because you want to make a margin, a profit, because you want to deliver profitability, how do you make cheap products? Well, you go for cheap resources. That's what you do. You go for the cheapest place in the world. You can find cheap resources and you exploit those resources. And that's going to give you a cheap product you can sell for a lot of money. You can make a lot of profit. That was the philosophy indeed recently. Things have to change. Why? Because this is not sustainable, and we see it. When we talk about cheap resources, I mean everything, from minerals to even people. We give some country in the world and we exploit people. They learn nothing from us. We just reap the benefits and we leave. So this is not sustainable. It has to change. That's why you see here this big hump you see at the top that says sustainability benefits. These are, as Patrick was saying also earlier, the environment, the society as a whole, people growing, people learning new things, being able to lead a better life. So that's why it's an interesting perspective to look at project management as not being something that should end one day, but something that should be more like end-to-end in terms of also taking into account what happens afterwards, not to mention operations. I mean, as a project manager, you think, okay, I'm going to throw it over the wall to the next person, then the operating, not my problem. But the operating can be quite problematic, might be too expensive, might be too damaging, might be pretty bad for the environment, but you don't care because you're done. That's why you integrate that into your life cycle of the project. So it kind of makes it end to end. Now, I was saying a methodology. It's a methodology. It is. And these are the major phases. First is authorize. Now, it's an interesting one because when you authorize a project, you don't do it just because you want to deliver more money, as I said earlier, or profitability or revenue or whatever. You are authorizing the project because you will have an impact on the environment, on the organization. So already here in the authorization phase, we take into account some of these elements around sustainability. Then you go into the pre-project phase, discovery, design, delivery, closure, and then at the end, hopefully you realize these benefits. What's not visible here in this, maybe I should have changed a bit this, is that design delivery seems sequential. I mean, we know today that it's not sequential anymore. I don't want to say agile, but quite often in projects, we kind of do it in iterations. You design, you deliver, you design, you deliver, you redesign, you deliver again. So also bear in mind that this methodology, PRISM, it's totally flexible. You can adjust it to a more predictable way of working or to a more adaptive way of working. So you can also go into iterations. Maybe just a bit on this benefit realization. Yes, we've had that in project management for many years, right? You deliver the product, there's an output, then you deliver some benefits, and hopefully one day somebody will enjoy those benefits. But then again, remember what I said earlier, these are not just typical traditional benefits. These are also some of more sustainable benefits. So really quickly, if I go through this, the pre-project phase, what I want to emphasize here, I don't want to make this too detailed or too technical, but I want to emphasize that it's a true methodology. It's a true tool that should help us incorporate these practices. So you start with the pre-project phase, you look at the authorization, you select the sponsor, the project manager, nothing new so far. What is new maybe is this topic here that you see, analyze alternatives. Let me check if I can maybe highlight this. Hope you can see that. I'm trying to highlight something. Analyze alternatives. So maybe there's more than one way to do things, right? So maybe I can look for an alternative that's more sustainable. Maybe I should take that into account. Then you deliver this high-level business case. So if you look at this so far, nothing special. It looks like typical project management. But once you go to the discovery phase, you go into more details. And this is where you start to see some of these elements which are specific to sustainable project management. Particularly, what you see here is this P5 analysis. So already in the discovery phase, we're going to have a look at this impact analysis, and we're going to do an assessment about how we are performing as an organization or as a project. So I'm going to draft this plan from the beginning and just to have a clear picture. If everything goes right, we're going to continue. So go to the next phase, which is the design phase. So what we do here, we're going to update this document, right? That's the main document we have here. We're going to update this throughout the progress. Also, what I want to see, which is special to this approach, is the business case. Now, if you follow PMI or even IPMA, what you learn is that the business case is an input into the authorization of the project. So you have a business case that authorizes the project, and you go, you build your project, right? You don't really talk about that anymore after initiation, but here you can see the business case being updated throughout the project, which makes a lot of sense, I would say. Why? Because the business case will most likely change during your project. You discover new benefits. You discover that maybe your old benefits were not sustainable, so you should maybe adjust that. So it's a nice thing that you can also have a look at that, and you can maybe update that. I mean, just to give you an example, you realize that you have to deliver these benefits, but then the cost is too high. Obviously, the business case is not valid anymore. Or they're good benefits, but you cannot produce that in a sustainable way. Again, maybe you should reconsider the whole project. So you see here, we have in green, the green boxes are the processes, and then I think it's orange, these are the documents attached. Also, lessons learned, you'll see this throughout the whole project, right? That's another document, very important. Again, when we talk about project management, we talk about lots of plans in project management. There is a plan for scope, there's a plan for schedule, there's a plan for cost, there's a plan for stakeholders, lots of plans. You see here another plan we're going to add to that collection. This is the sustainability management plan. This is specific to all these sustainability topics that are going to be planned and tracked throughout the project, just like any other plan. You plan for these things, then you monitor, you track, you control throughout the project, and hopefully you can close the project when you also meet the requirements of this plan. So this is the design. Delivery, well, it's in the name, right? You deliver, it's at the end. So again, you may want to update these documents. You can perform another analysis of this, P5. I was saying that it's also an iterative model. You see here, you can iterate as many times as you need. So this can be built incrementally, iteratively, depending on the need. And then the last one is the closing, right? Where you look at different reports. But also very important is this element here, which is the special reporting around sustainability. So the output or the outputs of all these sustainability efforts in project management are the reports that you have to prepare and produce for different stakeholders. Could be GRI, could be ESR, could be anything that your organization has decided to follow. And let's not forget also these benefits here, right? So it's not just sustainable project management, but there should be a way that those benefits are enjoyed, are used, are realized in a sustainable way, right? I mean, imagine I'm going to give you a product and it's built in a sustainable way, but to operate that is going to consume a lot of energy, electricity, and so on. Might not be very sustainable afterwards. So it has to be end to end. So I know that was a bit fast, but I just wanted you to get a sense of what this methodology is all about. As I said, I'm going to send you the links for the documents to download, so you can read more about those. Again, the processes, the documents attached, and so on. Really quickly, I'm looking at time. I think we're still okay time-wise. Just a few words about this P5 impact analysis. Now, I know this looks a bit scary because it has a lot of elements here, but it's actually quite simple. What you have the product perspective and the project perspective. You have people impacts, planet, and prosperity. Maybe just to start with this prosperity, because people might think, oh, green project management sustainability, it's nice, but it's going to just damage our current business. We're going to not make any more money. Yes, we still look at prosperity, just in a more equal way. It's not just profits for your shareholders, maybe a bit more evenly distributed among all the other stakeholders in the project. So when you look at product perspective here, it looks at lifespan of the product and servicing the product. What I said earlier, it is not just the project life cycle, it's actually the product life cycle, what happens at different stages throughout this lifespan. Also servicing, you see here. The servicing is, I said earlier, oh, you give me a product, but how do I maintain that? How do I operate that? How do I entertain that? So the project perspective looks at efficiency, effectiveness, and fairness. Well, fairness, start with the easiest one, but probably the most difficult one, is treat different stakeholders in a fair way. That'll be your team, your employees, your suppliers, your vendors, particularly your suppliers. Because I think many companies do this. They think, okay, we're doing a good job here. We're pretty fair in the way we treat our employees. But if you look a bit further to their supply chain, you realize that it's not the same situation. Very often they defend themselves. They say, but we have no visibility. But it's still your responsibility, isn't it? So that's why we look at fairness everywhere, across all the channels. Efficiency and effectiveness. Well, effectiveness, you have to produce the result that people want, that delivers value. Efficiency. I kind of like this one because we are probably world champions at inefficiency in project management. Endless meetings, redoing it again, repeating until we get it right. So maybe we should look at that a bit differently. I don't want to go into the details of that, all these columns, but you can look at the titles here. That should give you an idea, right, what they actually mean. So you look at labor practices, you look at society, you look at human rights, you look at ethical behavior. Then in the planet, you look at transport, energy, land, air, water, consumption, and so on. One advice, if I may, when you look at this, do not assume that these are things happening. Oops. So what I did here, can you still see this? Can you see that? Sometimes when you look at this, you assume, oh, these are things happening in some countries at the other side of the world. But some of these things are happening here. I mean, I would say most of these things are happening here, right? Think about equal pay. That's here. Discrimination. It's here, right? I just had a discussion earlier today with a friend of mine who said, if you're looking for a job and you are older than 55, you see discrimination everywhere in the world, even in the most developed countries in the world. You can see that. It's everywhere. Right. Yes, in some places it's worse than in other places, but it's pretty much a global problem we're facing. So what I said earlier, the way I look at this is it gives me a framework, it gives me a methodology so I know what we should be considering here. I was saying that it's a tool that maps very well with other standards or even reporting standards. I think Patrick was mentioning this earlier, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. This is how this maps to those. So you see here the list on the left is the P5 elements, and then you see the boxes in blue or in green, how they map and they support those goals from United Nations. I don't want to take too long, but what I want to do next is really quickly share with you an example of this. It's an Excel file. And again, we're going to send you the link so you can download this Excel file for free. You can play with this on your own. You'll find one tab in that Excel file where you can see some examples. So this is an example here. So there's a company. In fact, probably you can do this faster if I just share this. All right, you should see it now, an Excel file, right? So you have an example here for a wind farm project, a beverage company, oil and gas. That should be a fun one, oil and gas. Look at sustainability. So what you do is look at this lens, right? So you have lifespan, services, effectiveness, efficiency, and fairness. So here's some questions, right? So here, for instance, the lifespan. So this is a wind farm project. We do the project, we build the wind farm, right? What happens afterwards, the lifespan? So you're going to suddenly realize, well, we have a problem because there's nobody local to support this, to maintain this afterwards. So right now we are at 1. That's the score, one out of 5. So how can we improve on that? So what we suggest to do is to have this program with the community. We provide training, we train people, we get them some certifications. So with that, we go from 1 to 5. So that's an increase of 5, right? So you have here, this is an example. That's pretty much the idea behind every of these assessments, right? So you look at the current situation, you give yourself a rate 1 to 5, right? In case you're wondering, can you cheat? Of course, but who are you going to cheat? You're going to cheat on yourself, right? So 1 means worse, bad. 5 means best. Usually 5 is kind of hard to achieve, right, in these metrics. So again, the beauty of this tool, this P5 assessment tool, is that kind of gives you a framework for what are the right questions to ask, and then a score, and then you can think in a creative way about how you improve on that. Also, you see here more examples, and then it turns into some dashboards, because if I go back to my slides really quickly, the benefit of doing this in the end is, right, I'm moving back to the slides, is that you can pull some reports, right? So you see here, the dark blue was before, the light blue was, well, the dark was before, the light was afterwards. So you see there's an increased project feasibility, transport, energy. So this is what happened after we changed those. So the dark color is the previous situation, the light color is the after, the before and after situation. So again, it's a tool that helps a lot with reporting. We're having a better understanding on where we are and what we should be doing. Again, ESG reporting maps perfectly on that. Quite a discussion a couple of weeks ago with somebody in Lausanne, a big company, who said that they are incorporating this into their ESG reporting because it's a great tool to support that with more details in case somebody wants to know more about that. So this is one slide which made me think a lot, because I used to think sustainable is a good word. Now I thought, well, it's not actually a very good word, right? Sustainable means don't ruin it even more, do not harm. But we should be thinking more and more about other things. You see here, sustainable is not bad, but it's not that great either. We should think more and more in terms of restorative. Put it back, right? Regenerative. Because again, we're in the hole with, in terms of damage, quite spectacularly. So it can be conventional, which is business as usual, just continue to damage the planet. Sustainable, don't do it anymore. Restorative or regenerative. So it kind of made me think more about the words we use, because I think also important in terms of vocabulary. I was saying earlier that this is a nice slide, explaining why do people want to take an interest in sustainability. Yeah, it may start with regulatory compliance, crisis management, and usually it's crisis management, isn't it? Because you don't have a choice. Something happening somewhere and you have to do something about that. So that's crisis management. Regulation. Also, for some people, it's good business. It's just plain and simple. Resource optimization, differentiation. We are doing this, you're not doing this, get more market share. But ultimately, this is supposed to be purpose-driven, you see here. I mean, you get the ultimate benefits of this if you are truly purpose-driven. You're doing it because you believe it's a good thing to do, not because somebody's making you. But then, as we know, if you look back at the history of humankind, at the beginning, there has to be somebody with a stick, punishing you if you don't do the right thing. And then in time, we build the right behavior. So I guess, again, it's an interesting slide when you think of what are the reasons behind taking an interest in sustainability. I'm not sure how we do on time, but I think I will stop here. Do I have any questions before we move to knowing more?
Ciao, Florian. Thanks Patrick, for your contribution. That was amazing, because we can see that there's a change in terms of vocabulary. So I was taking some notes about fairness, new words as GPM, that I truly believe that could be really helpful, because I mean, if half of our audience is like a technical profile, or an engineer, or very close to this type of profiles, have a tool or have a way of moving through this complicated and confusing topic, could be absolutely a roadmap to follow. And I liked a lot the fact that you use the regenerative.
Regenerative. It's an
Yes,
impossible
exactly.
word to pronounce.
I'm sorry. And but because we have a couple of minutes, I will have just to reinforce your thought, because we got during the chat an interesting insight that there's a recent, I'm reading directly from the message, the recent eco design for sustainable product regulation from the European Commission is imposing new rules in manufacturing companies. This is impacting the design mindset and processes. So if before it was like design, material, and production, right now is about material before design and production. So the way we manage new product development is completely changing and evolving. It's now taking into account additional factors to drive decision making. And we need to define new KPIs and take into account such new way of working. So there's a new word that is opening, not like a Pandora box, but something that could be very interesting and a new opportunity to do better our project. So thanks a lot for coming. And I'm asking you, because there's a lot of questions that I'm collecting in the meantime, if after or during the round table, if you want to stay with us, Patrick and Florian, to address all the questions that we have. So thank you.
If I may, in case there are any questions, we have a lot of time to answer those questions because there's a bit of marketing here.
Right.
We have some
That's
workshops
great.
in person or also online to address many of these topics in sustainability. Patrick, if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, that's certainly, we will certainly be here as well, but that's good. We're really going to expand our offers in terms of green project management or sustainability or whatever term we're going to use. But I think it's going to be important, as we have seen also from your reaction, Virginie, that you have been citing indeed.
Thank you so much, guys. Of course, you can pop your question, of course, and the Q&A box. All the questions will be addressed by the end of the day, hopefully. And I would like right now to welcome our next speaker. Finally, I'm welcoming Arthur Pantelides, Dr. Arthur Pantelides. Are you there, Arthur?
Yes. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Absolutely, perfectly, Arthur. Thank you so much for coming. And I was
you're
waiting.
welcome.
I was waiting you because we this morning discussed initially the world of artificial intelligence, but there's an amount of questions that you can even imagine about this topic. And I'm very happy to have you right now with us. And I received a question that maybe you can address directly in your speech, because I have spoiler alert. I have just we checked together the slides, and I got a very interesting question. That it was, I'm trying to understand how AI can adapt to fit the purpose rather than to best practice. And I think that's precious, this difference. Machine learning is a long process. And if we need to contextualize each project, which we should, this process will take as long as the implementation. Example, sentiment analysis, or such as you can please suggest how to contextualize the tools and maybe suggest some maybe opportunity and or limitation. It could be great to explore these topics. So Arthur, thank you again, and the stage is yours, and thanks again for coming.